the zenith of this was the election of John F. Kennedy as president in the United States, which was unheard of, a Catholic president in the United States, you know. And I think as a result, we got into the game of wanting the regard of society around us. And this led to all kinds of bad things, you know what I mean? It led to Catholic politicians and Supreme Court justices acting in such ways that were deep betrayals of not just the faith, but of truth. And so I think that the end of that era of Catholics wanting to be accepted and admired and kind of wanting to be part of the whole mix, that's a happy thing. It's good for us. You know, I'm not into circling the wagons and like building a bubble, but I am into getting together, linking arms, and doing it together, not just by ourselves. And I think that that's deeply important. And so I think that places like Catholic Family Land are signs of great hope. You know, it's amazing. What I saw this morning, it's wonderful. It's just wonderful to see. Very encouraging.
Well, in that regard, we try as a lay apostolate to partner with the bishops and priests and help them become aware for two reasons. One is to partner with them in renewing the world of the church through the family, but then also to get their advice and have them advise us on how best to use our apostolate gifts in this modern culture. So would you have any advice for me and Diane on the board on how would we best utilize that and partner with the bishops and priests in order to advance this great work?
Yeah, I think, so I'm on the board of Relevant Radio. And Father Rocky, who's an Opus Dei priest, he's the executive director. One of the reasons that, in the University of Mary has done some advertising on Relevant Radio, this type of thing. One of the reasons we first got involved with Relevant Radio is that he came and he did something on our campus, and it was like, Go Ask Your Father, you know, is the name of the show. And so he asked the students could ask these questions or whatever. But afterward, he and I were talking, and he said, you know, we are invincibly cheerful, and you know, Relevant Radio is not out there trying to, you know, fix the church or whatever. We're spreading the joy of Christ through the media. That's our mission, and that's what we do. In the same way, I think it's sometimes easy, and I've seen this happen in Catholic apostolates. They'll get entangled in every controversy that comes down the road, or every, you know, and of course the times in which we live, where anybody who's got like an iPhone can start a channel and like become a sudden expert about this and amass thousands of followers of sort of cranky people, this type of thing. I think that that we live in grim times, but that's not a reason to be grim. It's the opposite. It's the reason for us to be as cheerful and invincibly joyful as we possibly can in that respect. And so my advice, but I give it to myself too. So as you hear it, know that I'm hearing it. I think for us to be as joyful and as hopeful as possible in a world which tends to despair and anxiety and sadness of all kinds, is just such a beautiful counter-witness. It's also what priests and bishops need in a partner. Because you asked about the partnership, you know, think of a bishop. Poor guys, you know, they've got, their desks are heaped with all kinds of things. For every letter of admiration or thanks that they get, they have 100 of criticism and complaining and all this other stuff. You know, they take a lot of I almost said friendly fire, but I don't think some of it's very friendly. You know, they're in the foxhole. And priests, you know. I mean, priests sometimes say, "Oh, we're overworked" or things. I don't think so. I grew up milking cows. I think priests have it pretty easy. You know what I mean? You can go to the grocery store and get groceries, and it's warm inside. And I don't know. But I do think that it can be a very intense life, and so I think that keeping things not Pollyannish, not artificially cheerful, but rooted in true Christian hope and joy is really, really important. and not unnecessarily getting enmeshed in commentary on things which are beyond the scope of your apostolate. That's not to say that you can't speak into, or shouldn't speak compellingly into various cultural things, but to keep, and I say this to myself too, at the University of Mary, sometimes things happen in the culture, or at the Vatican or something, and people are expecting that we're going to come out with a statement at the University of Mary. And I say, well, what? I don't have anything to say about that. Like, I have 4,000 students, and they're my responsibility. You know what I mean? And nobody wants to hear from me on that anyway. You know what I mean? I don't have an authoritative voice. I don't have a responsibility. So it'd be easy for me to say something, but that's just virtue signaling. You know, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm going to put my head down. I'm not a coward. I'm a realist and a person who's deeply dedicated to the mission that I've been entrusted with. And so my advice, you know, you asked for yourself and for the board, mission drift is the big danger, to think that you're supposed to do things which you're not actually called to. But the things that you're called to, then you'll get bored with. And you can't, because the stakes are too high. You guys are doing amazing work here. It's amazing. And so focus on it and garner the necessary support from priests, bishops, and others.
Well, we try to keep the perspective the Holy Family's in charge. We just got to stay out of the way.
That's right. No, and think of the joy of that house. Think of the Holy Family in Egypt, for instance. They're living like refugees. They don't know anybody. Joseph needs to make a living with the work of his hands. Maybe they don't know the language. It's difficult in all kinds of ways. But they weren't just huddling together in misery. They were filled with joy and hope, because they knew that God had his hand on them and was going to guide them, and everything would turn out okay. That's the way we're meant to live.
Well, do we have time for another question? Yeah. All right, what is...
You can give me a word limit, too.
No, we don't want that. What is the most important thing for us to focus on as we continue to move forward in our mission?
Okay. So I can speak from my perspective, I can speak from a borrowed perspective, and then I can project into your circumstances. From my perspective, as a college president, I've been doing this for 15 years. At the University of Mary, we attract a tremendous number of really great young men and women who come wanting a great Catholic education. We attract many others too who are there because they want to play NCAA athletics, because we have a really top-ranked nursing program, for instance, or physical therapy, occupational therapy. They come from one of our academic programs or whatever. I think the damage that the culture is doing to the hearts and minds of young people is such that we have to give more thought than we've ever had to give before to receiving these young people and assisting them with some basic coping skills for life. For instance, I'll give you just one example. Young people are coming to the University of Mary now, and they have this, it's one of the most tremendously bad ideas I've ever heard, that you should never feel sad. That if you feel sad, you have a mental health issue, and then you need counseling and maybe medication, this type of thing. Well, some people do need counseling, and some people do need medication, and there's no shame in that. But just because you have a sad thought, or that you're sad about something, doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It could mean that there's something very right with you. Sometimes the adequate and appropriate response to circumstances of our life is to be sad and to grieve. And so I think we've pathologized negative feelings, when negative feelings from a biological perspective keep us alive. That's why I run from a tiger, because I feel bad that the tiger is chasing me. And from a spiritual perspective too, the effects of sin in my life cause me a particular sadness. I thought they'd make me happy. It doesn't make me happy. That's all great. That's how we're put together. It's super. From a seminary perspective, and so from a borrowed perspective, I have friends who do work in seminaries. They're finding that young men, great young men, who come for the priesthood, they're needing some remedial work before they can even begin the studies for the priesthood. You know, this is the value of this propedeutic year, where technology is taken away and they just have to read the Bible and the catechism and do service with the poor, just so that they can get into a Christian mindset before they ever train to be a priest at all. So I think that a perspective for you, and I know you're on the lookout for this, because I see the intelligence gleaming in your eyes. I know that this is something that you're thinking about. But the brokenness of our time is getting more intense and acute year by year by year. And that means that we have to take stock of it, and sometimes we have to create zones for rehabilitation almost before we can get into the center place of our mission. For instance, I was on the board of Focus, the Fellowship of Catholic University Students, for many years, and you know, they've started asking young men who apply to be missionaries who might have problems with pornography. They'll say, why don't you wait a year, live together in a house of accountability, pray together, and then apply to be a missionary next year. Those kinds of things are the kinds of things that we're going to need to do more and more, because people are growing up slower than they used to.